FM News Talk 97.1. On-demand audio.
Last segment, we talked to Jeremy Segal. He's the proprietor of rebelpundit.com, and we were talking about, it's up at Big Journalism right now, this video hit. And I was saying, I was talking to Richard Mourdock earlier today. I reached out to his communications director, and someone had texted me and said, oh, there's an Indiana candidate. I didn't even know who it was at this point. Oh, there was some kind of altercation. It's going to be on video. So, I kind of forgot about it until Monday, and I look at my friend Jim Hoff's website, and boom, it's right. And I figured, this must be what they were talking about. And then I played the video, and there was Richard Mourdock, who I met when I was in Indianapolis, speaking with the Indianapolis Tea Party, their tax day rally, and I broadcasted from out of WIBC there, had a blast. And Richard was very calm and he was very collected in the interview, but his campaign manager, Jim Holden, was sort of like the complete opposite of Richard Mourdock. And Richard joins me on air today. Sir, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining me. It's been a busy morning for you.
It has been indeed. Busy day here in the Treasurer's office. But great to be with you, Dan. And I have to say regarding your last segment, don't you wish they had that same scrutiny that they're putting on Sarah Palin, put that same scrutiny on President Obama's college transcripts? Let's go that direction.
That would, exactly. There's a lot of things that the media sort of dropped the ball on. And that's one of the reasons citizen journalists have really picked up that slack. And one of them you gave an interview with recently at a Tea Party rally, Jeremy Segal, who does Rebel Pundit. And it seemed to be, and I'm not saying this as a slight to him at all, but it seemed to be, there are a lot of Tea Party citizen journalists that are out there, and they talk more often than not. They always have interviews with Republican candidates. Whenever they try to interview Democrats, that's when it gets super interesting. But it began as just a very sort of ordinary interview with a Republican candidate, and then your campaign manager, who is also the deputy treasurer and general counsel, Jim Holden, came out of left field, and then there was this altercation, which is on video, and it's now all over the web. When you were giving the interview, and we talked about this earlier, you didn't feel as though Jeremy was aggressive at all.
No, let me set the stage for just a moment, because, and first, I think your word altercation, or if that was Jeremy's word, I think that's a little over the top. You're right. I'm not a real excitable kind of person. Myself, a little charisma challenged, and I often, I'm pretty calm, mild-mannered. But just to understand the context, it's a great compliment to our Senate campaign that here we are 13 months ahead of a primary, 11 months now. And for 13 months, everywhere we go, we have the Democrats videotaping everything we say, and even Senator Lugar's people videotaping everything we say. We're used to that. They're looking for us to make some sort of gaffe. We were also in Kokomo, Indiana, which, let's not forget, that's that city where there are 6,000 Chrysler United Auto Workers who 2 years ago, when I stood against the Chrysler bankruptcy, were just about burning me in effigy. So even when we got there that day, we were a little concerned something might happen.
Right.
We saw in the crowd representatives from Congressman Joe Donnelly, the Democrat who's running. We saw people we otherwise recognized, and then there were two people who weren't recognized. They were kind of standing alone, and we do so many Tea Party events. We know folks, and we thought, who are these guys? We go through the entire thing. They come up to me. They were polite. They asked me some questions, sticking the camera in my face. But I'll talk to anybody, and I'm talking to them. Jim looked across the way and thought these folks might have been with Congressman Donnelly or some other group that was not going to be at all friendly to us, came over and just was offended with the fact they had the camera in the face, and quite frankly, and he will admit this, he overreacted. He thought they were someone they weren't. Jim mistakenly tried, frankly, to protect me. He said he's overreacted. He's apologized profusely to me. I know he's trying to get a hold of Mr. Segal, and I think Kane, through your broadcast, is helping us get the phone number so he can call and apologize to him. It was just a case of mistaken identity. By the way, even as that happened, I continued to have the conversation with the second person.
Right.
And it was a very quiet, calm conversation.
Right. And from what I understand, Jeremy had been wearing a Gadsden flag hat. And I don't know if he was from the vantage point that I had just watching the video. I don't know exactly how close physically it was to you, but Is it ever appropriate, even if, unless there's clear or present danger and someone has a weapon and they're coming after you, is it ever appropriate to respond to any media? Because media, by their very nature, are persistent anyway. Is it ever appropriate to respond to where you sort of, you push down their camera and then you call them a douchebag later on camera?
No, it was out of line. Jim, as I say, has apologized to me.
Right.
It wants to apologize to Mr. Segal. If he's big enough to make that apology, I trust Mr. Segal will be big enough to accept it on the basis for which it is offered, which is one of mistaken identity. Later, not 10 minutes after all of this happened, I had someone come up to me and say, Richard, one thing I really appreciate about you is you always stay and talk to anybody who'll talk to you, and I do.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to talk to any member of the media ever. We never close our door. And that's why I appreciate when you gave us a call here to talk about this. I mean, when you make a mistake, you ought to admit it. And this is our campaign's mea culpa. I'll personally right now apologize to Mr. Segal on behalf of the campaign. But as I say, I know Jim wants to talk to him as well. And, the thing I think that was most concerned when the Tea Party folks, we have so many Tea Party folks who have been with us for 2 years, or maybe more correctly, I've been with them. And the first question that was asked of me was, I had said during my remarks, as I always do, as much as I support the Tea Party, I always have 3 words for them, God bless them. But the fact is, I'm not a Tea Party candidate.
Right.
I'm a Republican candidate. And that's kind of what he picked up on, and that was his question. And maybe it sounded a little hostile, but I thought I was diffusing the question when all this happened.
Yeah, I don't think it's hostile at all. I usually don't become hostile. As I said before, my heart hardens whenever I hear a politician say, I'm a Tea Party candidate, because there isn't ever going to be such a thing. My position has always been, and I say it very bluntly, we consume the Republican Party from within and change it from within, and that's how you do it. And so I understand that distinction.
Yeah, that goes with my God bless Tea Party people comments, because I always say you are bringing my party back to its essential base of smaller government, lower taxes, greater individual freedom, and greater individual responsibility. I have
one last quick question for you. Is Mr. Holden going to remain your campaign manager after this? Or...
We had quite a little visit to the woodshed this morning, and I think we've got the path set for the future. So, in fact, he's actually leaving the Treasurer's office later this week, and this had been in the works beforehand, but he was leaving the Treasurer's office, and I think, if anything, it might have been campaign fatigue, because he has worked in this office continually, and he's been working more hours than I know to imagine at night and over the weekends, and I think, frankly, maybe that played into it a little bit, too. I think he was just worn out and, as I say, overreacted, and it's not Jim's nature to react the way he did, and he just thought that I was being subjected to something that I wasn't, and so he responded as he did. If I can say one other thing, too.
Yes.
The questions there that were being asked seem to suggest that maybe the Tea Party ought not be looking my way, and that's a real, let's put it this way, the integrity of the Tea Party people in supporting me, I have never questioned for a moment. They are great folks. I look forward to working for them and all the people of Indiana. Right.
And I have one last super fast question. I know you have to go. We have to break too. Someone brought it to my attention, this website called Real Time Tea Indiana. Are you familiar with that website at all? It redirects to a page that endorses you. Do you know who this I've been trying to reach this group. Do you know who this group might be?
I think that was the group that actually sponsored the event on Saturday.
Okay.
That was the name of the event. So they were doing that, and as you know, some Tea Parties endorse candidates, some local Tea Parties, some don't. So,
right.
I presume that's what you're looking at.
Okay. Thank you so much, Richard Mourdock. I appreciate you giving us some time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, take care.